My name is Tiara. I am sharing this story so someone out there will not repeat my mistake. I did not chase wealth. I did not pray for love or marriage urgently. I only wanted a peaceful life and a chance to grow. Lagos is a hard place, but I came with hope. I lived in Yoba with my aunt in a small face me I face you compound. Every morning I woke to the sound of children crying, neighbors arguing over bathroom turns, and someone always frying akara outside. There was noise, but there was life. I worked at a boutique. My salary was not huge, but it kept me going. I believed that if I stayed patient, things would get better. I did not know that sometimes danger comes disguised as comfort. It started on a rainy evening. Customers had rushed home before the rain fully started. I was arranging clothes when the door opened and he walked in. Solomon. He entered softly like someone who did not disturb air when he moved. He greeted politely, picked shots without stress, paid without bargaining, and spoke very gently. You work hard, he said. You deserve good things. His voice felt calm, not the noisy confidence Lagos men show. It felt like rest. When he left, I told myself it was just a normal customer. But he returned the next day, not to buy anything, but to greet me and ask if I had eaten. From that moment, he became a presence. He did not rush me or push conversation. He did not try to impress anyone or show off. He simply appeared quietly, checked if I was fine, and left. Little by little, I started waiting for his visits. Not because he gave me money or gifts, but because he made me feel noticed and cared for in a city that swallows people. He listened when I spoke. He asked about my dreams. He said things like, you deserve peace. Life should not always fight you. I believed him. Weeks passed and one evening he told me he had a small apartment I could move into. Somewhere quiet where I could rest after work. I was surprised. It felt too generous. I hesitated, but he said calmly. You work too hard to return to noise every night. Let me help you, please. I told my auntie. She stared at me for a long time and asked only one question. How long have you known him? Not long, I answered. But he is kind. She did not argue. She only sighed. My mother, when I told her, was worried. She said, pray before you accept help from anyone. I prayed, but at that time my heart had already opened to him. I moved into the small place he arranged. It was neat, quiet, and peaceful, almost too peaceful. As I lay on my new bed that first night, I looked at the ceiling and thanked God. I felt lucky. I felt chosen. I did not know I had just stepped into the first chapter of something I was not prepared for. A chapter where silence would become frightening and where love would slowly reveal its true face, not bright and gentle, but cold and angry. If I had known, I would have stayed in that noisy compound, because not every peaceful place is safe, and not every gentleman comes from God. The new apartment was small but tidy, a single room, kitchen corner, clean bathroom, and a window facing an empty compound. It felt neat and silent, almost too silent. I slept alone that night. No crying children, no clashing buckets, no early morning quarrels from neighbors. It felt strange at first, but I told myself I would get used to it. In Lagos, peace is rare. I believed I had found mine. The next morning, I woke rested and grateful. I arranged my clothes neatly in the wardrobe. I swept the room twice, even though it was already clean. I lit a candle and thanked God for where life was taking me. Later that day, Solomon came with a food flask, fried rice, plantain and chicken. He smiled softly as always. How is the place? He asked. It feels peaceful, I replied. That is how life should be, he said. Slow, quiet, safe. Those words made me smile. Nobody had spoken to me like that before. Not with pride or noise, just calm care. He did not enter inside fully. He stood near the door, looking around as if making sure the space was in order. Then he left just before evening settled. That became his pattern. He visited in the evening, stayed briefly, spoke gently, and left before night. He never stayed overnight. He never rushed to touch me or get close in a romantic way. At first, I thought it was respect. Later, I understood it was something else entirely. Days passed, the room stayed quiet, sometimes too quiet for Lagos. I did not hear neighbors. I did not hear footsteps outside. Even the sound of vehicles felt far away. But I convinced myself I had been blessed with quiet. After all the noise I grew up with, this felt like relief. The first unusual thing happened on the fifth night. I was lying on the bed reading messages from my mother when the room suddenly felt colder. Not like normal night breeze, a deep still cold that touched the skin slowly. I froze for a moment. I looked around. Nothing moved. I stood up and checked the window. It was shut. I checked the door twice. Locked. I shook my head at myself. New house, I thought. New environment, it's normal to feel strange. I went back to bed just before sleep pulled me in. I felt something, not a touch, more like someone sitting near my feet. The mattress dipped gently, just for a second, so soft I almost doubted it. My eyes opened wide, but there was nothing there. I sat still for some minutes. My heart beat slow, not fast, a quiet fear, not loud panic. Eventually, I lay down again. I forced myself to believe it was imagination. In the morning, sunlight filled the room and I laughed at myself. Everything looked normal, safe, warm, calm. Later at work, I even told Joy, my friend, jokingly, I think my new house is too quiet. It is confusing my head. She laughed and said, just get used to comfort and enjoy the environment. I smiled and agreed, but deep inside, a small doubt had already been planted. Not fear yet, just awareness. A quiet voice saying, this peace is not ordinary. Still, I held on to happiness. I held on to gratitude. I held on to Solomon's gentle presence and his calm words. Because sometimes the heart wants what it wants, and mine wanted to believe I finally had a soft life coming. Only later did I understand. Some peace does not come to comfort you. It comes to prepare you for something you cannot see yet. The first week passed quietly. I settled into my new life like someone stepping into warm water after standing in rain for years. I felt grateful each morning and peaceful each night, but slowly, small things began to unsettle me. One afternoon, I returned from work earlier than usual. When I opened the door, I paused. There was a faint smell in the room, like cold air mixed with old perfume. Not a bad smell, but out of place, as if someone had been there moments before. I checked the door again, locked just as I left it. I shook it off and arranged my things, but the feeling stayed, a quiet awareness that I didn't enter an empty room. Another day, my phone rang late at night. I reached for it half asleep, and for a second, I thought I heard someone breathing in the room, very soft, like someone lying a short distance away. I sat up, heart beating gently but firmly. I listened, nothing. I told myself it was imagination. New place, new adjustment. Still, I slept with the light on. Then there was the bed. Every night, just as I was drifting off, I felt it. A soft pull on the bed sheet. Like someone adjusting it near my feet. Not harsh, not frightening, just there. Each time I opened my eyes and saw nothing, I stopped telling myself I was imagining everything, but I did not know what else to think. Fear had not entered my heart fully. Only confusion. Solomon kept visiting. Always in the evening, always before dark, always gentle. Sometimes he would bring food, sometimes fruit. He never stayed long. He always stood near the door, rarely sitting. He asked me often, "Are you resting well?" I always said yes, even when my voice felt unsure. One evening, I asked him, "Why don't you ever stay till night?" He smiled a little and said, "Night has its own work. You should sleep peacefully." At that moment, a small cold breeze touched my arm. I rubbed my skin and looked outside. The evening was warm. Solomon noticed. His eyes followed the air like he sensed something I could not see. Then he said quietly, "You are safe here. Do not worry." Instead of comfort, his words made my heart feel tight for a moment. Just a moment. A few days later, Joy visited after work. I made noodles for us and she sat on my bed while I fixed the curtain. Suddenly, she rubbed her arms. "Tiara, why is your room cold?" she asked. I turned. Surprise filled me. It didn't feel cold to me at that moment. Maybe I had already gotten used to the feeling. "It is not cold," I replied. "Maybe you are tired." She didn't argue, but she kept glancing around like the room was watching her. When she was leaving, she squeezed my hand. "If you ever feel uncomfortable here, come and stay with me for a night," she said softly. I laughed and called her dramatic, and she laughed, too, but her eyes did not relax. That night, I lay in bed and thought about her words. Then I told myself I was lucky, that this house was simply quiet and comfortable. Comfort can blind you before fear even starts to whisper. Before I slept, I said a short prayer. "God, keep me here in peace." But a small voice inside me, one I tried to ignore, whispered back. Peace is not always God's gift. Sometimes it is the cover of something else. I turned on my side, held my pillow, and forced myself to sleep. And just before sleep carried me, I felt it again. A soft weight settling at the edge of my bed. For the first time, I did not pretend it was imagination. I just closed my eyes and prayed morning would come quickly. By the second week, I stopped doubting myself. Something, or someone was in that room at night. Not loud, not angry, just present. And presence alone can be frightening. It started affecting my sleep. I would wake up suddenly, heart beating quietly but fast enough to warn me. No footsteps, no voices, just the feeling that I was not alone and someone was watching. In silence, I would freeze, stay still, and pretend I did not notice because I did not know what else to do. Fear works differently when you cannot run. In the daytime, everything felt normal. Sunlight filled the room. I swept, cooked, arranged my clothes, and convinced myself I was safe. Every evening, Solomon visited. Always gentle, always calm. He never entered fully unless I insisted, and even then he stayed near the door like the room was not his place to rest. He would ask kindly, "Are you sleeping well?" I always replied, "Yes." I lied, not because I wanted to hide the truth, but because I did not know how to explain it. How do you tell someone? I think someone lies beside me at night that I cannot see. One evening, he asked a different question. "Do you still feel tired in the mornings?" My chest tightened. I had not told him that. No one had. "Yes," I answered quietly. "Maybe I am adjusting." He nodded slowly, almost thoughtfully, and said, "You will get used to it." Those words made my skin prickle. Why should I get used to weakness? I did not ask. I could not. Fear does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers and waits. A few days later, I noticed another change. My dreams before were normal work, family memories, then they shifted. I started dreaming of water. Deep dark water. I was always standing in it. Not drowning, just waiting. Someone always stood beside me in the dream. Tall, quiet, not touching me, just there watching. One night in the dream, I heard a voice beside me say, "You are almost ready." I woke up immediately, trembling. The room was cold and my breath showed lightly in the air as if it was Harmattan season. I sat up hugging my knees. Tears filled my eyes, not from crying, but from helplessness. I whispered to myself, "This is not ordinary." That morning at the boutique, my boss looked at me closely. "Tiara, you look pale. Are you eating?" I nodded. But my hands felt weak even holding clothes. I knew I needed to talk to someone. So that evening after Solomon left, I called my mother. "Mama, can I come home this weekend?" I asked. Her voice immediately became alert. "Has anything happened?" "No," I lied. "I just miss home." She agreed. But I could hear relief in her voice as if she had been praying for that request. Before sleeping, I sat on my bed and spoke softly into the quiet room. "I do not know what is here with me, but I am leaving soon." No answer came. The silence did not move, but the air felt heavier, like the room had and did not like it. I switched on my lamp, lay down, and closed my eyes. Just as sleep came, I felt something again. A soft pull at the bedsheet near my feet. Slow, deliberate. My eyes opened wide, but I did not move. I learned one thing the hard way. Sometimes reacting too fast invites deeper fear. I did not scream. I did not jump up. I whispered one quiet sentence in the darkness. "God, please be with me." And I waited for morning like a prisoner waits for light. By the third week, my body was not the same. I woke up feeling weak every morning, as if sleep was not helping me, but draining me instead. Climbing the stairs felt harder. My legs felt heavy. Some days even lifting my plates to the kitchen made my hands shake lightly. I did not fall sick, yet I was not well. It felt like life was slowly leaking out of me. Still, I tried to act normal. I went to work. I smiled when customers greeted me. I told myself I was only tired from Lego stress. But deep inside, I knew stress alone does not remove strength quietly like that. One evening, Solomon came by as usual. The sun was already going down and the sky had that soft orange color that makes everything look peaceful. He stood at the doorway smiling gently. "How are you feeling today?" he asked. I wanted to say not fine, but instead I forced a smile. "I am okay." He washed my face quietly for a few seconds, too quietly. Then he walked into the room without me inviting him. That surprised me because he never did that before. He stood near me and touched my shoulder lightly. His hand felt cold, not like normal cold, but deep cold, the kind that sits on the skin even after the hand lifts. "You look pale," he said softly. "It means the joining is working." My heart jumped. "Joining?" I asked. He looked at me calmly. "When two souls come together." I laughed nervously, trying to pretend I misunderstood. "You mean marriage?" He shook his head slowly. "No, something deeper." My breath ceased. Something inside me tightened like a rope around my chest. He moved closer and touched my cheek again. His hand felt cold. "You are becoming connected to me," he whispered. "Soon you will not feel weakness anymore. You will feel complete." I swallowed hard. Fear rose quietly inside me like rising water. I stepped back slowly. "I think I want to visit my mother this weekend," I said, trying to sound normal. For the first time, his calm expression changed. His face went blank as if emotion left him all at once. "Why?" I forced a smile just to see her. He stared at me in silence. The room suddenly felt colder. "You do not need to go anywhere," he said softly. "You are safe here." Safe. That word again. I nodded quickly, even though my throat felt tight. "I know. I still want to see her." He blinked once slowly. Then his voice changed, still calm, but deeper, heavier. Your soul is already tied. Leaving will not change anything. I gasped silently. My body felt weak again, not from sickness, but from fear. I did not answer. I could not. He looked around the room, then back at me. You will understand soon, he said, and without another word, he turned and walked out. He did not open the door. I did. When I looked outside, he was already gone, faster than walking should allow. I stood there frozen for a moment. Then suddenly, a sharp knock hit my door. I jumped. It was my neighbor's little daughter, holding a plate of rice. Auntie, my mommy said I should give you. Her presence felt like a gift from God. I thanked her and shut the door gently. When she left, I sat on the bed and burst into quiet tears. Not loud crying, just tears dropping slowly while I held my chest. This was no longer confusion. This was no longer imagination. I was living with something that was not flesh. And it wanted more from me than love. It wanted my life. That night, I did not sleep. I sat up holding my Bible to my chest, whispering prayers, even when my voice shook. Around midnight, I felt it again. A cold presence moving near the bed, not touching me, just standing there as if watching me pray. I did not look. I only whispered, God, please stay with me. The coldness eased slowly, like something was forced to step back. When morning light touched the window, I finally rested my head and closed my eyes. I had made up my mind. I would leave. Even if I fainted on the road, even if I crawled, even if I had to beg for strength, I would leave that house and leave him because peace should not take life from someone and love should not feel like burial. Morning came, but I felt like I had not slept at all. My legs were heavy. My body felt light, almost empty. Even standing took effort. Still, I woke up with one decision in my heart. I would leave that house today. No matter what happened, I packed slowly. Not much. I did not own much, just clothes, a few personal things, and my Bible. Every movement felt like dragging weight. Several times I had to sit down because my body felt weak and hollow, like something inside me had been taken piece by piece. When I finished packing, I sat on the bed and waited for strength. Just enough to walk out, just enough to reach the gate. I whispered, God, please help me because I could not do it alone. I stood up, lifted my small bag, and reached for the door. My hand touched the handle and the room went cold. Not breeze, not weather. Cold like stepping into water. From a deep well, I froze. Then I heard it. His voice. Not from outside, not from the door, from inside the room. You want to leave me? I turned slowly. Solomon was standing by the corner. I did not hear him come in. I did not see the door open, but he was there. And this time, his face was not gentle. His eyes looked darker, like shadows lived inside them. His expression was calm, but there was something behind the calm, something ancient, hungry, and sure of itself. Where are you going? He asked quietly. My voice shook. I need to see my mother. You do not need to go anywhere. He replied. Everything you need is here. My heart beat fast, but my body was too weak to run. I gripped my bag tighter. I want to go home. He moved toward me, not angrily, but slowly, like someone certain I would not escape. You belong here, he murmured. We are already connected. Tears filled my eyes. Fear held my throat. Please, I whispered. Let me go. He stopped in front of me. His face softened like sadness touched him. I chose you, he said. Do not fight it. I stepped backward shakily. And when my back touched the door, I pushed it open with trembling hands, but my legs failed me. I fell to my knees, weak like my body was no longer mine. At that moment, I heard hurried footsteps in the corridor. Voices, familiar voices. My mother, my auntie, and the pastor. I don't know how they found me. Later, my mother told me she woke up with fear in her chest and felt led to come immediately. They entered the room before I could speak. My mother ran to me and held me tight. The moment they stepped inside, Solomon stepped back. His face did not change, but the air around him shifted like he did not welcome their presence. The pastor, who followed them quietly, did not waste time. He lifted his voice and prayed with force like someone who had seen this type of battle before. The room felt heavy. The walls felt tight. I held my mother and cried, shaking. Solomon stood there calm and still, watching me, not angry, not scared, like someone waiting for a process to finish. You cannot take her, the pastor said firmly. Solomon looked straight at me. His voice was soft, almost sad. Even if you go now, he said, you will feel me again. Souls do not separate easily. Then the room air shifted again and he was gone, disappeared like smoke in wind. My mother held me tighter. My auntie prayed loudly, her voice breaking. The pastor told them to carry me out immediately. I could not stand. They held me up and carried me to the car outside. As they moved me out of the house, I looked back one last time. Not because I wanted to stay, but because part of my heart still did not believe what my body had lived through. The door to that house stood open. The room was quiet. Too quiet. I whispered, "Thank you, God." Even though my voice was barely sound, they took me to church. Prayers continued for days. Slowly, my strength returned. My skin regained warmth. Sleep became peaceful again. But one thing never fully came back. The feeling of being alone. Because once you have been touched by something not human, part of you never forgets. Sometimes at night when everywhere is quiet, I wake up suddenly, not afraid, but alert like something once near cannot truly be gone. I pray and peace returns. But I will never ignore spiritual warnings again because I learned something. Danger does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers your name and calls itself love. And peace is not always God's gift. Sometimes it is the silence of something waiting to take you. Moral of the story: not every gentle face carries good intentions, and not every quiet blessing comes from God. Life is not always loud when danger arrives. Sometimes evil enters softly, wearing kindness like a coat, waiting until your guard falls and your heart feels safe. Learn to listen when your spirit becomes uncomfortable. Even if your eyes see nothing wrong. When love begins to drain your strength instead of giving life. That is not love. It is bondage. Trust your instincts. Respect warnings even when they come quietly. And remember, comfort without peace is a trap. And not every door that opens was opened for your good. In this world, be prayerful, be watchful, and never rush toward anything that asks you to ignore wisdom. Thank you for watching this story. If it touched you or opened your eyes, click the like button and share it so someone else can learn from it, too. Subscribe and turn on your notifications, so you don't miss the next powerful story from Didi Whispers. Tell me in the comments what lesson did you take from this.